Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
Michigan's top court hands former President Trump a victory, keeping him on the 2024 ballot. What could come next?
Trucks carrying humanitarian aid and fuel crossed the Rafah border between Egypt and Gaza. An international team of surgeons tours an overcrowded hospital in Khan Yunis.
A Democratic mayor says the U.S. should start deporting illegal immigrants. Find out what else the mayor of Eagle Pass, Texas, wants the Biden administration to do.
Mandatory gender-neutral toy sections in California. Some stores will soon be fined if they don't have such sections for kids. We have the details of the new law.
Russia warns Japan about grave consequences if its Patriot air defense systems end up in the hands of Ukraine.
A top Ukrainian general said its military draft offices need to do better work. This, as an unpopular move to lower the age for mobilizing soldiers, makes waves.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Former President Trump will stay on the primary ballot in Michigan. The Michigan Supreme Court has rejected an attempt to remove him from the 2024 ballot.
Those who argued for Trump's removal cited the 14th Amendment's ban on insurrectionists. The ruling came after the Colorado Supreme Court took Trump off its primary ballot. They said it was due to his role in the January 6th Capitol breach.
However, the Michigan Court of Appeals upheld a ruling that said state law doesn't give election officials any leeway to police the eligibility of presidential primary candidates. The next step for both of these decisions will likely be to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. An international team of surgeons toured an overcrowded hospital in Khan Yunis on Tuesday.
The envoy is in Gaza to help local medical staff perform complex surgeries.
Some of the 6 surgeons are representatives of Rama Worldwide. The Islamic nonprofit organization is based in the U.S.
A spokesperson for the Rama Worldwide said doctors worldwide are ready to help. Getting into the enclave is the issue. Only a fraction of hospitals in the Gaza Strip are still functional.
Trucks carrying humanitarian aid and fuel crossed the Rafah border between Egypt and Gaza Wednesday. An IDF spokesman told NBC's Meet the Press that Hamas is stealing humanitarian aid.
Israel said it will keep fighting Hamas despite international calls for a ceasefire. Israel hopes to free the more than 100 hostages who remain in captivity in Gaza. The IDF and Hezbollah have also traded fire over the Israel-Lebanon border.
The Democratic mayor of Eagle Pass, Texas, speaking on the ongoing border crisis. He says the U.S. should start deporting people.
According to the mayor, the problem starts with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris not taking a stance on the issue.
It's very disappointing that they haven't made that message themselves, that you can't come into this country illegally, one. And second, yes, of course, there has to be a consequence to somebody breaking the law. People know that they're processing them quick. That's why they keep coming. So until we start deporting people in large amounts, this will continue to keep going.
He also called the federal government's handling of the crisis unacceptable. He says Eagle Pass is getting slammed with thousands of people entering illegally every single day while being ignored by the government in D.C.
The mayor says illegal immigration negatively affects the community's safety and economy. His city's police have to assist Border Patrol in processing immigrants, which he says takes away resources from the city.
In New York, officials are reportedly losing faith in Mayor Eric Adams over his handling of the illegal immigration crisis. The New York Times published a report this week on New York City's handling of the crisis. Officials in upstate New York reportedly criticized the mayor, saying he sent them buses with immigrants without letting them know.
Many human rights advocates and local officials in the city reportedly also disagree with Adams' handling of the issue. This comes just a few weeks after a Quinnipiac poll found Adams had the lowest approval rating of any New York City mayor in over 25 years. Will the border crisis change anytime soon? U.S. and Mexican officials are set to meet in Mexico today, according to the State Department. They'll discuss the migration crisis, calling it unprecedented. They'll also discuss border security. Joining me now to look at the mounting crisis is Andrew Arthur, Fellow in Law and Policy at the Center for Immigration Studies. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. What can we expect from this meeting today?
So, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas are going down to Mexico to meet with the president, Andres Lopez Obrador, to talk about Mexico actually beefing up its southwest border or its southern border to prevent migrants from entering Mexico and proceeding into the United States. They also want Mexico to take back individuals who have been removed from the United States, including individuals who aren't from Mexico. Mexico, of course, has to agree to that in order for that to happen. But with respect to those two issues, stopping migrants from proceeding through Mexico and sending migrants back to Mexico from the United States, those are two keys to the Biden administration's plans to continuing congressional negotiations.
And how might these talks compare to previous U.S.-Mexico talks about the border that the Biden administration has held?
The Biden administration has largely taken a hands-off approach to Mexico, at least compared to the Trump administration. President Trump threatened Mexico with economic sanctions if it didn't assist the United States in U.S. border security. The Biden administration rolled back nearly all of those threats, and in fact, has largely allowed Mexico to do what it wanted in moving migrants through Mexico to the United States. So this really is a sea change. This is a completely different tack than the Biden administration has taken up to this point.
And the State Department has called this migration crisis unprecedented, irregular migration in the Western Hemisphere. Talk about the scale of this compared to other mass migrations in the region in recent decades.
Yeah, we've never seen migration like this to the United States, but there have been migrant movements throughout Central and South America for decades. We had revolutions in El Salvador and Guatemala. Of course, we had the Chavismo in Venezuela. Individuals would move, but they would generally move to nearby countries. This is the first time that we've seen people move from countries like Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia to the United States. The Biden administration's policies have, in essence, in their minds, in the migrants' minds, invited them to come to this country. And so they're bypassing any number of other asylum granting countries to make their way here.
And, there's this poem at the base of the Statue of Liberty. I wanted to remind everybody. It says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free." U.S. identity is shaped by migration, and this quote reflects that, the Great Migration in the last century. How can the U.S. balance that with the need to stem the flow of terrorists, weapons, drugs, and slaves coming across the southern border, in some cases in unprecedented numbers?
So for that, I go back to Barbara Jordan, civil rights icon, and President Clinton made his chairman of the Commission on Immigration Reform. And she explained that immigration policy in the United States needs to protect the most disadvantaged Americans, which she identified as members of minority groups traditionally discriminated against, inner city youth, and legal immigrants who had not yet adjusted to life in the United States. So that is the great tension. Jordan also warned, however, that if we can't control illegal immigration, she was afraid that Americans would lose faith in legal immigration to this country. We already see that happening. Immigration policy, yes, needs to promote humanitarian ideals. We already do our fair share. We have more asylum applicants and asylees in this country than the rest of the world combined. But we also need to be concerned about the wages and working conditions of those most disadvantaged Americans. The Biden administration has largely ignored those disadvantaged Americans in order to promote the humanitarian ideals of the rest. A balance needs to be struck, but thus far the administration has refused to even consider a balance in that calculus.
Andrew, what will it take for Democrats and Republicans in Congress to be able to see eye to eye on this issue and strike that kind of a balance like you're talking about?
This is a hotly charged issue. In fact, Kristen Sinema, independent senator from Arizona, noted that this is probably the most visceral issue that Capitol Hill is dealing with. But it's also a real political liability for congressional Democrats and for the White House. The president receives his lowest polling numbers when it comes to immigration and the border. American voters more strongly support the Republican position, the Democratic position on immigration and the border than on any other issue. So, politics will play a role, but I believe that, even politics aside, Democrats such as Mayor Salinas in Eagle Pass and Mayor Adams in New York have now identified migration as a real issue that is undermining their values and their coffers. And so I think that there's a lot of pressure, both from outside the party and inside the Democratic Party, to come to an agreement.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that an agreement will be struck. The harder question is going to be whether the Republican House accepts whatever agreement the Republicans in the Senate come to. So that remains to be seen.
All right. Andrew Arthur, thank you so much for your time. Fellow in Law and Policy at the Center for Immigration Studies.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming up, a judge is striking down a First Amendment claim by Project Veritas. That's in a case involving the diary of President Biden's daughter.
What will the Senate races look like next year? Democrats hold a slim majority and have twice as many seats up for re-election than Republicans. We speak with a former congressional candidate when we return.
Shen Yun Creations, the streaming platform from Shen Yun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
I'll be home for Christmas.
You can plan on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents on the tree.
Right now, all over the country, kids at Shriners Hospitals for Children are able to go home and be with their families for the holidays. And that's only possible because of the monthly donations from people like you.
Thanks to a generous donor, every dollar you give can help twice as many kids like me and have double the impact.
With your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you, and a reminder of the care you'll be providing so kids can be with their families.
Christmas Eve will find me where the love light gleams.
It only takes a moment to call the number on your screen, or you can visit loveshriners.org.
Thanks to a generous donor, your gift will go twice as far and help more kids like me.
Because every child just wants to be home for the holidays, and your gift makes that possible.
Your call is the best gift of all.
Your gift will be my favorite Christmas present this year.
Thank you for giving.
Please call the number on your screen or go to loveshriners.org to give whatever you can.
And when you do, your gift will have 2 times the impact.
Come on! Go, Diane! Yeah, keep it going! Yeah! Go, honey!
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Welcome back. Who will former President Trump pick as a running mate? Some speculate Trump plans to run with a female candidate if he wins the Republican nomination. Now the former president has scheduled 2 campaign events with prominent Republican women.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is set to speak in Iowa on January 3rd. A day later, on January 4th, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is scheduled to speak in the Hawkeye State.
Both have expressed interest in being Trump's running mate. In September, the former president said he liked the idea of a female running mate.
Since then, many have been saying that a woman is destined for the role, including former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon, who says Trump should make a list of about 10 female candidates to consider.
Bannon specifically named Governor Noem, saying she understands the MAGA movement. He also mentioned Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who served as press secretary for President Trump.
Donald Trump Jr. this week spoke with Newsmax about the possibility of presidential candidate Nikki Haley as VP.
I wouldn't have her out. I would go to great lengths to make sure that doesn't happen. Nikki Haley wants never-ending wars. She's a puppet of the establishment in Washington, D.C.
He also alleged that if chosen as vice president, Haley would attempt to destroy Trump from within.
Congresswoman Greene earlier this month said the MAGA movement would revolt if Trump worked with Haley.
The DeSantis campaign, meanwhile, launched a website called Trump Nikki 2024. It suggests Haley is actually aiming for the vice presidency alongside Trump.
Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy is pulling funding for TV ads with just weeks to go ahead of the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the move.
Ramaswamy's campaign spokesperson confirmed to NBC News that they stopped buying TV ads, which typically make up the majority of political advertising spending, and have none booked for the immediate or distant future. Ramaswamy cast the move in a positive light on X, writing that presidential TV ad spending is idiotic. It comes with a low return on investment and is a trick that political consultants use to bamboozle candidates who suffer from low IQ. The biotech entrepreneur says his campaign is doing things differently, spending money in a way, he says, follows the data. Ramaswamy campaign press secretary Tricia McLaughlin told NBC the campaign is focused on bringing out the voters they've identified, using mail, text, live calls, and going door to door. Ramaswamy continues to project optimism, writing, "Big surprise coming on January 15th. He told Fox News that the Republican Party has grown lazy and needs to offer a better vision to people hungry for change.
What do we actually stand for? Individual, family, nation, God. That actually beats race, gender, sexuality, and climate if we have the courage to actually stand for something."
Ramaswamy's move to pull TV ad funding sparked speculation on X that he would be former President Donald Trump's running mate. One user wrote, "He's going to drop out and endorse Trump. It was his plan all along. Not running for president, but auditioning for vice president." While another wrote, "This has VP written all over it." The latest national Real Clear Politics polling averages have former President Donald Trump in front with over 62%. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley neck and neck with about 11%, and biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy in fourth with about 4%. The Iowa caucuses are on January 15th, the New Hampshire primary on January 23rd. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Democrats could be nervous about the 2024 Senate races. They have a slim majority in the upper chamber, and twice as many Democratic seats are up for re-election than Republican seats. For analysis of the Senate situation, we speak with political strategist and former congressional candidate Raven Harrison. Raven Harrison, thank you so much for joining us. Of all the Senate seats up for re-election this year, which one stands out to you the most?
Well, I've got a few that stand out. One is the race in Arizona. There's been a lot of attention paid to that because of Carrie Lake's in it and Kristen Sinema going to independent from Democrat. So a lot of eyes are on Arizona. We're also keeping our eyes on West Virginia with Joe Manchin retiring, and Michigan is a big toss-up right now.
And why? Can you say a bit more about why these are so interesting to you?
Well, they're interesting because we have so many dynamics. As you may or may not know, they have a 51 to 49 majority. Democrats have a majority in the Senate right now. It's a very slim margin, but we've got 3 in the independent category that make that kind of an interesting play. We've got more open seats on the Democrat side right now coming up for re-election in 24. So you've got the numbers game going there, and then you've got a very slim, razor slim majority on the Congress side that leans toward Republicans, but we have a lot of those seats that are up, so they're going to be feeding off of each other. But right now what you're looking at is it comes down to the polarization in these specific markets. In Michigan, Arizona are some of the most polarized we've seen as far as Senate races.
All right, got it. And you mentioned the slim majority in the Senate that the Democrats have. What are the chances of them holding on to that advantage in 2024?
It's going to be how the messaging comes out. What we're looking at is right now, if we look at it statistically, it's looking like it might break even or they might lose a little ground in there. But again, their messaging has always been pretty strong and pretty convincing, and it goes into an election. So Democrats have always been able to pull it out at the last minute. So we're going to be looking at some real strong messaging coming into 24.
And again, as you mentioned, more Democrat seats up for re-election than Republican seats. What would a Republican-controlled House and Senate be like? You know, what could they do that a Republican-controlled House alone can't?
Well, in theory, we could get some of this gridlock and the partisan blocks that keep going up, but we've seen that statistically hasn't worked. Back when President Trump had all 3 branches and the Republicans had, we still had the same level of gridlock. Now we have, we had a Democrat-led, with all 3 branches being controlled, and we got a lot of things through, but we're seeing now a lot of the pushback. So right now, we're not seeing a strong advantage to having both controlled by the same, especially because we have messaging issues on the Republican side and we have a politic and a spending issue on the Democrat side. So it's going to be up to the voters now to see how they want to reset this government balance.
Interesting. Now, what did Republicans learn from the 2022 elections that they could bring to bear in the 2024?
I think what they could learn is the messaging. We've got what you would consider a gift-wrapped platform right now from the Democrats. We've got a world that's on fire. We've got 2 wars going on. We have a lot of kitchen table issues, but Republicans, despite this, still don't seem to be able to coordinate and focus their messaging. They seem to be all over the place, and their primary message is don't vote Democrat, which the voters are saying, we want to know what your plan is. What is your plan to fix this? And this is what I see going into 24 that's going to be critical that the Republicans did not do in 22, which is effectively communicate the message and what they intend to do about it.
All right, Raven Harrison, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Some stores in California will soon have to offer toys in a gender-neutral way. Shops failing to adhere to the new rule will be subject to a fine. A bill designed by Governor Gavin Newsom is set to take effect on New Year's Day. It says that stores with over 500 employees must have a gender-neutral toy section. This applies to stores selling toys or childcare items. The gender-neutral section must include products for kids 12 years old and younger. Stores failing to adhere to the policy will face a $500 fine.
A judge is striking down a First Amendment claim by Project Veritas. Now, prosecutors may soon see over 900 documents in a case involving the diary of President Biden's daughter. The documents were produced from raids that were authorized in November 2021. That's after Project Veritas allegedly bought a stolen diary that belonged to President Biden's daughter, Ashley. Veritas recently made a First Amendment claim. The group said the government is only prosecuting the case because the diary in question belongs to the president's daughter, and that it is trying to stifle the outlet to stop it from investigating the president's family. A judge now struck down the First Amendment claim. The documents can be given to investigators by January 5th. And a reversal of fortune. A federal appeals court has thrown out the conviction of former Congressman Jeff Fortenberry. The court says he was charged in the wrong jurisdiction. The Nebraska Republican was found guilty in 2022 of 3 felony charges. The charges related to lying to federal authorities about campaign contributions.
Prosecutors charged Fortenberry in Los Angeles, where the investigation was based, but the appeals court ruled he should have been charged in Nebraska or Washington, D.C., where the alleged crimes took place. The court said federal prosecutors could retry the case, but there's no word yet whether they will.
A Christmas miracle. Police in Indiana say a car crash victim drank rainwater to survive as he was trapped in his vehicle for days.
Indiana State Police said on Tuesday that 2 fishermen found a 27-year-old Matthew Riem pinned inside his pickup truck after a crash on Interstate 94. Police say they believe the crash had actually occurred around December 20th. Riem's truck had gone off the interstate and ended up under the bridge and partially in a creek. Riem was unable to reach his cell phone to call for help.
The fisherman who found Riem initially thought he was dead until Riem turned his head and began to speak to them. Authorities came and freed Riem from the truck. He was taken to the hospital with severe and life-threatening injuries.
Police are urging drivers to always let someone know when you are traveling and to have an emergency kit in your car.
Coming up, a renowned German lawmaker has passed away. Learn more about the statesman who helped negotiate German reunification.
And an unpleasant surprise in the City of Love. The Eiffel Tower shuts down as workers go on strike.
And 10 people died and thousands were left without power after strong thunderstorms hit eastern Australia. We have more on the damaging weather in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
My name's Jen Marshall. I've been playing professional football in the Women's League for 3 years now. We're about 3.5 weeks out of my second surgery now. I had no pain whatsoever, no tingling, no numbness, and I felt incredible. I'm able to do pretty much anything. He doesn't want me pushing it too much, but I'm able to do, assisted pull-ups now. I'm riding a bike. I'm walking continuously at an incline on treadmills. I can do push-ups again. I can get out of bed, no problem. You're in great hands.
Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Anyone who's ever sold a home can tell you it is really hard. That's why who you work with matters. Together with Homelight, we've helped thousands of people sell faster and for the best price.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-984-7221. That's 1-800-984-7221, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
Are diapers destroying your confidence? Men's Liberty can help. Our discreet external device is safe, sanitary, and keeps you dry 24 hours, day and night. Step into the spotlight and do more of what you love with Men's Liberty. It's been ordered over 5 million times by thousands of satisfied fans. Call now to get a free week supply with your first order. There's no obligation, just the opportunity to try the most revolutionary solution to incontinence ever made. Unlike diapers, Men's Liberty is a long-term answer to dealing with incontinence. Make the choice to finally move forward with your life by calling Men's Liberty today. We'll answer all of your questions about how our completely unique device works and how Medicare can cover it. Dealing with expensive, uncomfortable diapers is no way to live. Men's Liberty lets you get back out there with more freedom and confidence to be you. Ready to find out more about our offer to get a free week supply? Then don't wait. Call Men's Liberty today.
Got a new house.
I think I finally found a place that I call home.
I'm David Lamb in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we are NTD News.
And now for a shift in gears, we have some short headlines from the UK, Germany, and other European countries. Russia had a stern warning today for Japan regarding its Patriot air defense systems. It says those weapons ending up in Ukraine will have grave consequences for Russia-Japan ties.
Japan said last week it would send the missiles to the U.S. after altering its arms export rules.
Russia also warned South Korea today for expanding the list of goods that cannot be exported to Russia without special permission, saying South Korea should not be surprised if Moscow retaliates.
The list includes heavy construction equipment, rechargeable batteries, aeronautical components, and some cars.
Recruiting problems in Ukraine. The country's army chief said on Tuesday that legendary German lawmaker Wolfgang Schäuble died at age 81. His death ends an over 50-year career.
Schäuble was a member of the Christian Democratic Union political party since 1965 and a member of parliament since 1972.
He helped negotiate German reunification after the fall of the Berlin Wall. He was wheelchair-bound since 1990 and after he was shot 3 times at a campaign event.
He died peacefully at his home on Tuesday.
Over to France. The Eiffel Tower was shut down to visitors today. This is because of a strike over contract negotiations. It's unclear how long the strike will last.
Tourists can still access the glass-enclosed base beneath the tower, but entry to the nearly 1,000-foot landmark itself is closed until further notice.
The Eiffel Tower is typically open 365 days a year and normally sees about 20,000 visitors per day this time of year. Today marks the 100th anniversary of the death of the tower's founder, Gustave Eiffel. They came looking for a bargain, but left empty-handed. Some shoppers in England were disappointed with this year's Boxing Day sales.
Many staple shops kept their doors closed for the UK's traditional day after Christmas holiday.
In London, shoppers still lined up outside the famous department store Selfridges.
UK consumers were expected to spend nearly $6 billion in the post-Christmas sales, with the average person spending nearly $320.
I'm always the first in town trying to get the bargains, but yeah, today's just not really gone that well.
Half the stuff I bought isn't even on sale, so it just feels like a normal day of shopping.
Next and John Lewis and M&S were all closed, and I remember when I would go when I was younger with my parents, they would always be open and they would be the first shops we would go to.
Parts of Australia are reeling today after severe thunderstorms killed at least 10 people over the Christmas holidays. Winds battered the country's east, with tens of thousands of properties still without power. Here's more.
Wild weather lashed the states of Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland on December 25th and 26th. It brought large hailstones, torrential rains and strong winds, which blew off roofs and brought down trees. Local resident Paul Boyton is in Helensvale.
Oh, it was some of the strongest wind I've ever heard. So yeah, it was pretty scary. The kids were freaking a bit. Yeah, they were pretty nervous. Yeah, just inside, all you could hear is just all the banging and things breaking. The whole time, you know, that's more and more damage to the house and stuff. So yeah.
3 men were killed after a yacht capsized near Green Island in Moreton Bay, authorities said. 2 people were killed by falling trees, and 2 women died after being swept away in flooded storm water drains, police said. The danger isn't over yet. Authorities warn fast-rising rivers and streams could burst their banks, inundating campgrounds, often crowded over the festive period.
So it's the first time we've ever had a concrete power pole destroyed by a storm. That's pretty significant. That's unprecedented. Certainly the scenes I saw where you didn't just have a single power line down, you had a power line down between every pole.
Miles says the damage from the thunderstorms and Cyclone Jasper, which hit the state earlier this month, could be in the billions. Despite more rain predicted, Australia's Bureau of Meteorology expected the wild weather to ease later on Wednesday.
South Korea is holding a rare defense drill simulating a possible attack by the North on its capital. The move aims to counter fears that Seoul is within reach of North Korea's weapons and covert acts.
These are rare defense drills in South Korea's capital on Wednesday. Over 1,000 military, police and emergency personnel joined the exercise that simulated an attack by North Korea on Seoul. It comes after the North tested an intercontinental ballistic missile and launched its first military spy satellite. The capital's mayor Oh Se-hoon cited Hamas' attack on October 7 through towns in Israel, which killed more than 1,200 people. He said it showed that superior military capabilities did not mean much if the enemy mounted a successful unexpected attack.
There was a big lesson for us when Israel's world-class advanced defense system helplessly buckled under a surprise attack by Hamas, armed with conventional artillery and primitive means.
Wednesday's drills simulated attacks on a water supply facility, telephone network stations, and an underground communications and power cable corridor. Seoul is only 24 miles from the military border with the North. Oh added that it makes the capital particularly susceptible to an attack at any time. The drills came on a day that South Korea imposed new sanctions on 8 North Koreans linked to nuclear and missile programs. The neighbors have clashed at sea, and one of the South's islands has been bombed by the North. But there has been no direct attack on Seoul since the end of the Korean War in 1953.
And with 2023 slowly coming to a close, we take a look at some of the biggest news stories of the year in a special multi-part series. We covered the first quarter yesterday. Here's NTD's Daniel Monahan with the second.
April was a busy month for Finland this year. The Russian neighbor joined NATO on April 4th, completing a historic security policy shift triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
We can now declare that Finland is the 31st member of the North Atlantic Treaty.
Later in the month, Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin, the world's youngest prime minister when she took office in 2019, aged 34, stepped down as chair of the center-left Social Democrats. This after her party narrowly lost the election. Moscow under attack as a drone exploded above the Moscow Kremlin in an alleged Ukraine drone attack on May 3rd. Russia accused Ukraine of the attack in a failed attempt to kill President Vladimir Putin. A new king was crowned in England on May 6th. King Charles III was crowned in Britain's biggest ceremonial event in 7 decades. Charles succeeded his mother, Queen Elizabeth, when she died in September 2022. The newly crowned King Charles appeared on the Buckingham Palace balcony next to his wife, Queen Camilla, as supporters gathered outside. In health news, the World Health Organization declared that COVID was no longer a health emergency on May 5th. The WHO's Emergency Committee first declared that COVID represented its highest level of alert on January 30th, 2020.
It's therefore with great hope that I declare COVID-19 over as a global health emergency.
Officials say the COVID pandemic killed nearly 7 million people. In Turkey, incumbent Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan won a fiercely fought presidential election in May. The close election forced a May 28th runoff, which Erdogan won 52 to 47%.
I would like to thank each and every member of our nation who gave us the responsibility of governing the country for the next 5 years.
Russian President Vladimir Putin had to deal with an armed mutiny in June. The private army of mercenary boss Yevgeny Prigozhin seized control of a southern city of more than 1 million people as part of an attempt to oust the military leadership. The mercenary fighters then barreled towards Moscow on June 24th. Prigozhin says his men were on a march for justice to remove corrupt and incompetent commanders he blamed for botching the war in Ukraine. But Prigozhin eventually called off the march, claiming he wanted to save Russian blood. Disaster struck on the open seas off of Greece in June. At least 82 migrants drowned early on June 14th, and hundreds more were missing and feared dead after their overloaded boat capsized and sank. The boat was carrying up to 750 refugees and migrants. Only 104 people were rescued. And finally, another disaster associated with the name Titanic. A submersible taking wealthy tourists to visit the famous ship's wreckage stopped communicating on June 18th, about 90 minutes after beginning descent. The world watched tensely as people speculated how long they could survive based on oxygen calculations. A debris field from the imploded ship was found on June 22nd. All those aboard were killed. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Coming up, a school in India is helping girls become expert wrestlers. They're living out their dream of winning medals.
And residents in a mountain village in Kyrgyzstan used to have to drive their bottles and cans to a city. Now locals are getting a new recycling facility. Found out more shortly here on NTD News Today.
Beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shen Yun.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always cheesing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
It's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/therightseat.
South Korean actor Lee Sung-kyun, known internationally for his role in the Academy Award-winning film Parasite, has died. Police in Seoul confirmed the news today. The actor was 48 years old and was being investigated for illegal drug use.
Authorities said they received a missing persons report from Lee's manager on their hotline. Lee was found dead in his car this morning. The cause of death is presumed to be suicide. He'd been questioned 3 times since October as part of an investigation into alleged drug use. He was summoned by police as recently as December 23rd.
South Korea has strict anti-drug laws, but has seen soaring drug-related offenses in recent years. Throughout the investigation, police said Lee's drug tests all came back negative. A man and a woman were arrested as part of the drug investigation.
Lee received acclaim for his role as Park Dong-ik, the father of the wealthy Park family in Parasite. In Peru, the annual Takaki Festival attracts hundreds of costumed participants before the year's end. This traditional fighting ritual acts as a community justice system, aiming to resolve disputes so that everyone can start the new year peacefully.
Through the fights, participants can let go of their anger from personal or economic problems, ranging from legal issues to stolen lovers. There are judges and referees to decide the winners, and local authorities supervise the confrontations.
Takaki combines the words meaning fight and mutual. The event takes place every year.
And a school in India is training girls to become professional wrestlers, living out their dream of winning medals. How do they improve their skills? Let's take a look.
This wrestling school in North India teaches young girls how to fight. The male-dominated sport is considered taboo for women in many parts of the country, but here, young women are able to hone their skills and build confidence as they do it. The school was co-founded by Usha Sharma in 2009, who is India's first female wrestling coach. She hopes to empower girls in a country where poverty and conservative attitudes often hinder women's rights.
It feels nice to see that the same girls who used to graze cows and buffalo, about whom no one cared, there are now 4 or 5 people behind them. Their uncles, grandfathers are asking about them. It was very satisfying to see that they could make decisions for themselves and they can drive cars.
Morning exercises at the Altius Wrestling Academy include jogging, sprinting, squats and push-ups. Almost all the students, aged between 8 and 22, have page boy cuts as a defence against hair pulling by opponents. State government funding covers their training, while their parents pay about $109 a month for board and academic tuition, which is provided by a school next door. Many of the students, like 16-year-old Swati Bowell, dream of one day competing on the world stage.
For now, I aspire to become an international player. Initially, I dreamt of becoming a national player, but since I started nearing that target, I realized that being an international player is possible too. My dream is to win medals and get international recognition.
Another Altius student, Sonu Kalaraman, represented India before suffering a serious injury. She now coaches at the school and says that many of the students would have been married off long ago had it not been for the academy.
The coaches have taught us and showed us what life actually is. We were naive. Had it not been for them, we would not be here in the sports domain. We would have been married off long ago and would be with kids right now. Because of them, we have been able to put a badge of honor to their names, our names, and even our families' names. We've earned money as well.
Indian women won 3 bronze medals at the recent Asian Games in China. And last year, a former Altius student won bronze at the Commonwealth Games in Britain. Whether or not these students become champions, the Academy provides them with a safe space to build resilience and other skills for later in life. Sharma says she takes pride in seeing former students carving out careers, buying cars and moving ahead.
7, 8 girls from our academy are working in government jobs. One has become a police sub-inspector after bagging a medal in the Commonwealth Games. Her name is Pooja Sihag. So it does feel nice after giving back to the society.
And staying in Asia, residents of a picturesque mountain village in Kyrgyzstan used to have to drive their bottles and cans to a city. Now, new recycling facilities are helping locals keep the town clean. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the latest.
Jirgalan wants to brand itself as a sustainable tourism destination, and that means keeping these green slopes and mountain streams pristine.
In 2020, garbage collection began. We began to collect it to prepare the local population for sorting so that garbage is sorted. A year ago, we launched a trial testing of the equipment. Something was changed, something was added, and 2 months ago, we launched the main facility and reached our full capacity.
The village has just gotten a new recycling facility. The nationwide program hopes to boost tourism. Jergalan attracts hikers in the summer and skiers in the winter. The village isn't easily accessible since it's 280 miles away from the capital, Bishkek. The town sits at an altitude over 9,000 feet above sea level.
Personally, I have always collected waste that is accepted, glass and plastic bags. I collected them in heaps and then I drove them to the city of Karakol in my car and handed them over to the collection point. And the rest of the garbage was burned. Non-combustible was thrown into a mini landfill. Now it will be different.
According to village officials, between 6,000 and 8,000 foreign tourists visited the area in 2022. The recycling plant opened in 2020. Tourists are expected to appreciate the upgrade. Locals certainly do.
Due to the fact that we live in a mountainous area, we have been struggling with garbage for a long time. We clean up the garbage all the time, but the problem is where to put it. And today, the waste collection point is opening. This is great news.
About 1 ton of plastic waste is processed here daily.
Upon arrival here, waste is already in bags, sorted, separated by color, by quality, by dirtiness, by its condition, because it comes either in oil, or in soil, or in something else. It's all separated, and each kind is processed separately.
The initiative aims to change perceptions around waste.
Waste such as plastic, glass, paper, tin cans, and others are no longer garbage. They are secondary raw materials, which in Kyrgyzstan are already in great demand from those processors who are engaged in recycling. And it is this secondary raw material that will now be separated from the general garbage.
Another tourist town on a lake nearby also suffers from pollution. Plastic and other recyclable litter is a serious problem here.
The plastic option prevails, that is, these are plastic bags and plastic bottles. Plus the problem is that our population is probably having fun. They fill these bottles with sand and throw them, and it's hard to remove all these things because it becomes an impossible task.
Over the span of 9 years, volunteer divers have removed about 1,800 cubic feet of waste, weighing more than 20 tons. It's been a welcome development for both tourists and locals, but there's still much work to be done. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A temporary marriage license office is open at Harry Reid International Airport. Couples arriving in Las Vegas can tie the knot on the fly. It costs $102. Couples are advised to fill out a marriage license pre-application. The form is available on the county clerk's website.
Couples will be required to produce a government-issued ID. Clark County's Marriage License Bureau issues approximately 80,000 marriage licenses a year.
Weddings are a crucial part of the city's tourism industry. Las Vegas weddings bring in more than $2.5 billion every year.
The temporary office is located near Terminal 1 baggage claim. It will be open daily from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. through December 31st. Couples are trying to take advantage of a rare numerical sequence on that date, 123123.
If you have any news tips or feedback for the show, please feel free to email us at news.today@ntd.com.
Anyone who's ever sold a home can tell you it is really hard. That's why who you work with matters. Together with Homelight, we've helped thousands of people sell faster and for the best price.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Days Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Days Enzyme Fermented Coffee.
If you're living with diabetes, this is the sound that could change your life.
Great news for people living with diabetes. Now you can wear a continuous glucose monitor and eliminate routine finger sticks. The days of repeated, painful finger sticks are over.
Just call 800-215-1658.
If you use insulin daily to manage your condition, a continuous glucose monitor could help you control your diabetes and reduce or eliminate those painful finger sticks. If you have Medicare or private insurance, US Med can deliver a CGM system right to your door. And if you qualify, there may be little or no cost to you. Shipping is free and will even bill your insurer directly. Call now to get your continuous glucose monitoring system so you can take control of your diabetes and get back to enjoying life.
Just call 800-215-1658. That's 800-215-1658.
They are some of the hottest videos on social media. Those videos claiming to instantly get rid of bags under your eyes. Annette Figueroa is here to tell us why she says this one is for real.
This one is for real, and I'm so excited. Not only does it work on the bags, it works on the appearance of crow's feet, fine lines, and wrinkles. We even have a video, and all he uses is a small amount, and that's how easy it is. And I did this to my father. We were at home, 4 minutes, 34 seconds, completely gone.
My real true opinion is holy words I can't say on camera. This is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I could feel it just lifting my skin. It was amazing. It feels good. Feels great. Looks even better.
At our $14.95 price, it's the best way to try Plexiderm and see it work for yourself after your first application. Your solution is at plexidermtrial.com or call the number on your screen.
I'm Kelly Wright in New York City, and we are NTD News.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
Trucks carrying humanitarian aid and fuel crossing the Rafah border between Egypt and Gaza. An international team of surgeons tours an overcrowded hospital in Khan Yunis.
Michigan's top court hands former President Trump a victory, keeping him on the 2024 ballot. And Special Counsel Jack Smith is making a new move in the election interference case. We have the latest.
While most people in Gaza live in poverty, Hamas has an abundance of cash, with its leaders worth billions. Where is Hamas getting its money from? We delve deeper.
Republican candidate Vivek Ramaswamy calls presidential TV ad spending a foolish investment and pulls funding for them. Find out more about what's behind the move.
How did the U.S. housing and job markets look in 2023? What were some of the biggest developments? Our business host Don Mott reviews the year for us.
Dogs continue to amaze us in 2023. See how canines play a major part in people's lives around the world.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Former President Trump will stay on the primary ballot in Michigan. The Michigan Supreme Court has rejected an attempt to remove him from the 2024 ballot.
Those who argued for Trump's removal cited the 14th Amendment's ban on insurrectionists. The ruling came after the Colorado Supreme Court took Trump off its primary ballot. They said it was due to his role in the January 6th Capitol breach.
However, the Michigan Court of Appeals upheld a ruling that said state law doesn't give election officials any leeway to police the eligibility of presidential primary candidates. The next step for both of these decisions will likely be appeals to the U.S. Supreme Court. And an update on Trump's federal election case. Special Counsel Jack Smith has filed a motion today seeking to block Trump from making political arguments and referencing what Smith calls conspiracy theories during the trial.
Smith pointed to Trump's defense that he was prosecuted for political reasons. Smith claimed that such arguments were irrelevant and would inject politics into the proceedings. Smith also seeks to prevent Trump from telling the jury that others, including law enforcement, are to blame for the January 6th Capitol breach. Who will former President Trump pick as a running mate? Some speculate Trump plans to run with a female candidate if he wins the Republican nomination. Now the former president has scheduled 2 campaign events with prominent Republican women.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is set to speak in Iowa on January 3rd. A day later, on January 4th, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is scheduled to speak in the Hawkeye State.
Both have expressed interest in being Trump's running mate. In September, the former president said he liked the idea of a female running mate.
Since then, many have been saying that a woman is destined for the role, including former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon, who says Trump should make a list of about 10 female candidates to consider.
Bannon specifically named Governor Noem, saying she understands the MAGA movement. He also mentioned Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee, who served as a press secretary for President Trump.
Donald Trump Jr. this week spoke with Newsmax about the possibility of presidential candidate Nikki Haley as VP.
I wouldn't have her out. I would go to great lengths to make sure that that doesn't happen. Nikki Haley wants never-ending wars. She's a puppet of the establishment in Washington, D.C.
He also alleged that if chosen as vice president, Haley would attempt to destroy Trump from within.
Congresswoman Greene earlier this month said the MAGA movement would revolt if Trump works with Haley.
The DeSantis campaign, meanwhile, launched a website called Trump Nikki 2024. It suggests Haley is actually aiming for the vice presidency alongside Trump. An international team of surgeons toured an overcrowded hospital in Khan Yunis on Tuesday.
The envoy is in Gaza to help medical staff perform complex surgeries.
Some of the 6 surgeons are representatives of Rama Worldwide. The Islamic nonprofit organization is based in the U.S.
A spokesperson for the Rama Worldwide said doctors worldwide are ready to help. Getting into the enclave is the issue. Only a fraction of hospitals in the Gaza Strip are still functional.
Trucks carrying humanitarian aid and fuel crossed the Rafah border between Egypt and Gaza Wednesday. An IDF spokesman told NBC's Meet the Press that Hamas is stealing humanitarian aid.
Israel said it will keep fighting Hamas despite international calls for a ceasefire. Israel hopes to free the more than 100 hostages who remain in captivity in Gaza. The IDF and Hezbollah have also traded fire over the Israeli-Lebanon border.
And now we have retired Colonel John Mills to discuss the latest developments in the Middle East conflict. Colonel, welcome. With recent U.S. strikes on facilities used by Hezbollah in Iraq following attacks on coalition forces, how do you assess the evolving threat landscape in the region, particularly concerning Iran's proxy activities?
Well, thank you, Stephanie. The war is essentially expanding, and everything has to be looked at in terms of being proxies of Iran, whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Houthis or Somalis raiding ships. And now we have a strike. The Secretary of Defense, I believe, called it a proportional strike in Iraq, where we still have a footprint, both in Iraq at al-Assad and other places, and across the border in Syria. So this is a expanding war.
So what implications might that have for regional future military stability in the area and regional stability?
Well, I think in strategic context, everybody here is working for Iran. Iran is a proxy of China. This is essentially World War III, although we're not really recognizing it or understanding it. One of the most important issues is so far I count them as 18 attacks on 18 merchant vessels in the Red Sea, and especially the very, very narrow cut between Yemen and Djibouti. It's only about a 10 to 12 mile wide cut. 18 ships so far have been attacked. We got 2 that have been seized. This has to be looked at as proxy warfare that will disrupt worldwide supply chains and even further expand the scale and scope of the conflict.
And there's also Iran's, purification of uranium to near weapons grade production levels. From a strategic standpoint, what kinds of things should we be concerned about, and how should the U.S. be responding?
Well, almost the entirety of the deployed U.S. Navy is really focused on the Middle East, which distracts it and takes its eye off the Western Pacific, where very significant matters are ongoing against Taiwan, but also against the Philippines. And there's very active shoving and pushing going on between naval elements, very short ways off, two strategic places off the Philippines coast. So this whole conflict really has the U.S. Navy focused in its entirety on the Middle East, which is important, but it means we don't have enough resources or assets to really focus on what's going on in the Western Pacific.
So what do you think it would take for the U.S. to properly allocate its resources, in your estimation?
Well, under law, the U.S. Navy is supposed to expand significantly from just under 300 to 355 or greater ships. This has been a known issue and part of law for several years. The Navy has shown an inability for some reason to actually conduct this expansion. So we almost need a modern two-ocean act, similar act that happened about 1939, 1940 to massively expand the U.S. Navy. We need to get real focus, energy, and attention behind these matters. The last two National Defense Authorization Acts have been very good, but it is just really hard to get Department of Defense spun up and moving. Once they get spun up and moving, that's good, but it takes a while to get them spun up.
Lastly, Colonel, what do you think will trigger that?
Well, I think right now the U.S. Navy is essentially being overwhelmed, even with its focus being in the Middle East. The Houthis are in some ways running circles. This is a very small geographic area in many respects, but the U.S. Navy is showing an inability. Now, we've announced an international operation, Prosperity Garden, but even that is showing a lot of struggles, and there's several nations that are not participating, and even the European nations, which they depend on the Suez. We don't really depend on the Suez, but because they are now blocked essentially from using the Suez, that begins to interrupt the international supply chain. And the European navies are just a shadow of what they used to be, and they can offer very little to provide safe escorts. So that's why the merchant vessels are now going around the Horn of Africa, the bottom of Africa, like it's the 1800s.
A lot to think about there. Thank you so much, Colonel John Mills. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephanie.
And another perspective on the Israel-Hamas war. Next, we hear from Gerard Felitti, senior counsel at the Lawfare Project. He'll offer us a deeper look at the Hamas terrorist group and where they get their funding. Gerard, while most Gaza citizens live in poverty, Hamas has an abundance of cash, with its leaders actually worth billions. So tell us, where is Hamas getting all this cash from?
This cash is coming largely from a few sources. One of them is Iran. Iran has been producing money and weapons and subsidizing Hamas and other terrorist organizations for decades. They're also getting money from their own people. They claim essentially what amounts to a tax on goods and services for allowing civilians to utilize the services that Hamas is providing. It's kind of like the mafia collecting protection money, but on a large scale. And also they're getting a lot of money and aid from the West, from Western taxpayers through the United Nations, from countries like the United States, Switzerland, European countries, some of whom have cut back. But this and illegal trade in arms and drugs has kept them quite wealthy.
And so what efforts have been made to try to cut them off from these flows of cash?
Most of these leaders, all of these leaders, in fact, are on terrorist sanctions list, meaning that they can't transact business with Western countries, with Western banks. They're cut off from the normal banking system. The problem is that they have a lot of intermediary shell companies that they use, and they engage in purely illicit activities that are very difficult to track down and stop without the help of other countries. Now, it's important to recognize that while the United States, Canada, and the European Union see Hamas and designate it as a terrorist organization, there are plenty of countries in the world that don't, including China and Russia. So for as long as these countries continue to support Hamas and its leaders, it will be very difficult to crack down on the financing of their terror.
Right. So you've mentioned some illicit activities, support from China and Russia. What else makes this difficult to cut off the funding?
What makes it difficult to cut off funding is also that they're not necessarily using conventional transactions. They're using cash moved around in suitcases and in bundles, and they're also starting to be more sophisticated when it comes to the use of cryptocurrency. So it's easy enough to stop a transaction that's denominated in US dollars. It's easy to stop a bank from making a trade, but it's much more difficult when it comes to cryptocurrency and cash being moved in suitcases across borders.
Now, we've seen shifting relations between the U.S. and Iran. How much is that relationship at play in the strength of Hamas, would you say?
That relationship is always at play, but Iran has backed Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and countless other terrorist organizations for decades. Terrorism is Iran's chief export. And no matter its relations with the U.S., whether or not we're in a treaty with them, whether or not we agree on a nuclear non-proliferation deal, they have and will always continue supporting terrorism, including Hamas. So Iran really is a major impetus for a lot of the ill that's going on in the Middle East and in the world.
In your work, you've specialized in money laundering cases. In your view, what do you think that the U.S. and others who are trying to stop this all these sources of cash, flooding to Hamas, what can they do to more effectively tackle this?
Now, the two main things are getting more global buy-in in designating Hamas as a terrorist organization, in getting China, Russia, and other countries to stop trading with them, to stop financing them. But it's also important for the U.S. government and other friendly government to expand sanctions to secondary sanctions, to people, to individuals who are helping with money laundering. Even in the United States, we have people who are helping send money for, and I use quotes here, humanitarian causes related to Gaza and Hamas that are really fronts for Hamas. The U.S. government needs to investigate these and shut them down because that still amounts to a lot of money being transferred to terrorism.
All right, Gerard Filiti, thank you so much for your time. A Democratic mayor says the U.S. should start deporting illegal immigrants. Find out what else the mayor of Eagle Pass, Texas, wants the Biden administration to do.
And mandatory gender-neutral toy sections in California. Some stores will soon be fined if they don't have such sections for kids. We have the details of the new law, more in just a moment, here on NTD News Today.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
When I drink it, the first thing was I feel the warmth in my tummy. It's kind of like gently radiating out, a kind of a very comforting warmth. And it was really good, actually. I felt much better. I did feel, actually, the effect. And I find that it is actually better when I take it regularly.
It's actually steamed and dried 9 times. And so it's really, the essence is really extracted.
Then a second time, I tried it really like on an empty stomach and just 2 teaspoons of it and over a few times. And wow, that was a big difference because suddenly I could feel, wow, I was very good energized. I didn't have to eat. I could work outside in the garden for a couple of hours and I still felt very well. And I was impressed by that. So I think it's a good product.
The Democratic mayor of Eagle Pass, Texas, speaking on the ongoing border crisis. He says the U.S. should start deporting people.
According to the mayor, the problem starts with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris not taking a stance on the issue.
It's very disappointing that they haven't made that message themselves, that you can't come into this country illegally, one. And second, yes, of course, there has to be a consequence to somebody breaking the law. People know that they're processing them quick. That's why they keep coming. So until we start deporting people in large amounts, this will continue to keep going.
He also called the federal government's handling of the crisis unacceptable. He says Eagle Pass is getting slammed with thousands of people entering illegally every single day while being ignored by the government in D.C.
The mayor says illegal immigration negatively affects the community's safety and economy. His city's police have to assist Border Patrol in processing immigrants, which he says takes away resources from the city.
And in New York, officials are reportedly losing faith in Mayor Eric Adams over his handling of the illegal immigration crisis. The New York Times published a report this week on New York City's handling of the crisis. Officials in upstate New York reportedly criticized the mayor, saying he sent them buses with immigrants without letting them know.
Many human rights advocates and local officials in the city reportedly also disagree with Adams' handling of the issue. This comes just a few weeks after a Quinnipiac poll found Adams had the lowest approval rating of any mayor in New York City history in over 25 years. Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy is pulling funding for TV ads with just weeks to go until the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the move.
Ramaswamy's campaign spokesperson confirmed to NBC News that they stopped buying TV ads, which typically make up the majority of political advertising spending, and have none booked for the immediate or distant future. Ramaswamy cast the move in a positive light on X, writing that presidential TV ad spending is idiotic. It comes with a low return on investment and is a trick that political consultants use to bamboozle candidates who suffer from low IQ. The biotech entrepreneur says his campaign is doing things differently, spending money in a way, he says, follows the data. Ramaswamy campaign press secretary Tricia McLaughlin told NBC the campaign is focused on bringing out the voters they've identified, using mail, text, live calls, and going door to door. Ramaswamy continues to project optimism, writing, "Big surprise coming on January 15th. He told Fox News that the Republican Party has grown lazy and needs to offer a better vision to people hungry for change.
What do we actually stand for? Individual, family, nation, God. That actually beats race, gender, sexuality, and climate if we have the courage to actually stand for something."
Ramaswamy's move to pull TV ad funding sparked speculation on X that he would be former President Donald Trump's running mate. One user wrote, "He's going to drop out and endorse Trump. It was his plan all along. Not running for president, but auditioning for vice president." While another wrote, "This has VP written all over it." The latest national Real Clear Politics polling averages have former President Donald Trump in front with over 62%. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley neck and neck with about 11%, and biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy in fourth with about 4%. The Iowa caucuses are on January 15th, the New Hampshire primary on January 23rd. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Reversal of fortune. A federal appeals court has thrown out the conviction of former Congressman Jeff Fortenberry. The court says he was charged in the wrong jurisdiction. The Nebraska Republican was found guilty in 2022 of 3 felony charges. The charges related to lying to federal authorities about campaign contributions.
Prosecutors charged Fortenberry in Los Angeles, where the investigation was based, but the appeals court ruled he should have been charged in Nebraska or Washington, D.C., where the alleged crimes took place. The court said federal prosecutors could retry the case, but there's no word yet whether they will. Some stores in California will soon have to offer toys in a gender-neutral way. Shops failing to adhere to the new rule will be subject to a fine. A bill signed by Governor Gavin Newsom is set to take effect on New Year's Day. It says that stores with over 500 employees must have a gender-neutral toy section. This applies to stores selling toys or childcare items. The gender-neutral section must include products for kids 12 years old and younger. Stores failing to adhere to the policy will face a $500 fine.
A judge is striking down a First Amendment claim by Project Veritas. Now, prosecutors may soon see over 900 documents in a case involving the diary of President Biden's daughter. The documents were produced from raids that were authorized in November 2021. That's after Project Veritas allegedly bought a stolen diary that belonged to President Biden's daughter, Ashley. Veritas recently made a First Amendment claim. The group said the government is only prosecuting the case because the diary in question belongs to the president's daughter, and that it's trying to stifle the outlet to stop it from investigating the president's family. A judge now struck down the First Amendment claim. The documents can be given to investigators by January 5th. And the New York Times is suing OpenAI and Microsoft for copyright infringement. They filed a complaint today. In it, the New York Times alleges the company's AI technology illegally copied millions of the news organization's articles, and that they used the articles to train ChatGPT to provide people with information. As a result, the newspaper alleges the technology is now competing with their own company. In the New York Times, it says it first discovered its work was being used to train ChatGPT months ago and has since been trying to receive compensation. But the newspaper alleges it was unable to reach a resolution with the companies. The New York Times is seeking unspecified monetary damages as well as the destruction of the AI models that use its works. Microsoft and OpenAI have yet to respond to requests for comment. And a Christmas miracle. Police in Indiana say a car crash victim drank rainwater to survive as he was trapped in his vehicle for days.
Indiana State Police said on Tuesday that 2 fishermen found 27-year-old Matthew Riem pinned inside his pickup truck after a crash on Interstate 94. Police say they believe the crash had actually occurred around December 20th. Riem's truck had gone off the interstate and ended up under the bridge and partially in a creek. Riem was unable to reach his cell phone to call for help.
The fishermen who found Riem initially thought he was dead, until Riem turned his head and began to speak to them. Authorities came and freed Riem from the truck. He was taken to the hospital with severe and life-threatening injuries.
Police are urging drivers to always let someone know when you are traveling and to have an emergency kit in your car.
Coming up, how did the U.S. housing and job markets look in 2023? Our business host, Don Ma, reviews the year for us.
In case you didn't make it to the Alps this holiday, let these California restaurants whisk your taste buds away on a culinary journey. We'll have the details soon when we return.
We all know that words have power. They set things in motion
and make us happy or sad.
But there's one word that stands out because when people say it, lives are changed. It's not a big word.
It's itsy bitsy.
It's only 3 little letters. But when you say it,
the life of a kid like me can be changed.
So, what is this special word?
It may surprise you.
It's yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes to becoming a monthly supporter of Shriners Hospitals for Children. That's right. Your monthly support allows the doctors and nurses at Shriners Hospitals for Children to give the most amazing care anywhere and change the lives of kids like me. And me.
And me.
Because people like you have said yes. Now I can play football.
And I can play catch.
And I can walk.
So what do you say? Will you say yes right now?
It's so easy.
All you have to do is pick up the phone or go to loveshriners.org right now and say yes. When you say yes to giving just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a reminder of all the kids you're helping every day. My life is filled with possibility because of the monthly support of people just like you who called the number on your screen and said yes.
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 Your yes is making a difference in my life and the lives of so many other kids like me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, call again or go to loveshriners.org to say yes right away.
Anyone who's ever sold a home can tell you it is really hard. That's why who you work with matters. Together with Homelight, we've helped thousands of people sell faster and for the best price.
Looking for a healthy and smooth-tasting brew? Drop by Days Coffee Roasters today and explore our wide selection of specialty-grade, small-batch roasted coffee. Home to North America's first enzyme-fermented coffee, we source a wide selection of specialty-grade coffee beans from around the world, and our baristas are ready to craft your customized brew. Visit Days Coffee at 28 North Street, Middletown, New York. Come experience a brew like no other.
I'm Melina Weiskup on Capitol Hill, and we are NTD.
Joining us now is NTD business host Don Mott to give another business news recap of 2023.
Today we'll be talking about the housing and job market. Don, what were some of the big moments in this year's real estate sector?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing this year, it was that the real estate market did not see a commercial real estate crash. So if you remember, there were so many predictions about this earlier this year. You had headlines talking about something like the party's over in commercial real estate, and U.S. office vacancy rates hovered around 20% in 2023. But then employees started slowly coming back to their desks, and more companies, including BlackRock, Amazon, Salesforce, ordered workers to return to offices at least 3 days a week this year. But other than commercial real estate, the housing market went through a lot this year as well. This was the year that the housing market essentially froze over because higher mortgage rates dominated the story this year. The U.S. housing market in 2023 kicked off the year with mortgage rates in the mid 6% range, and then by mid-October they topped 8%. And the higher they went, the more potential buyers were being priced out of this market because at the same time the housing shortage didn't improve because of the higher rates. And that resulted in more would-be sellers deciding to stay put and hold on to their low mortgage rates. And home prices refused to come down this year as well. The median home price went up 2.1% year over year, and that's a new record according to Realtor.com. Prices started at a median of around $403,000 in January and steadily rose the first half of the year, and they peaked at around $445,000 in June.
So what were the big moments in the job market?
Yeah, so it seems like the U.S. job market didn't see as much of an eventful year compared to the real estate market, which is good news because we didn't have a very turbulent job market. Unemployment remains low compared to historical standards, despite the Federal Reserve's rate hiking campaign. And we saw solid job growth within the market on a month-to-month basis. The market started off pretty hot this year, and now it's starting to cool and started to normalize. But one of the top points of discussion this year was how tight the job market was. At one point, there were around 2 job openings for every 1 person that was looking for a job. So a bit of tightness there. A lot of employees and employers as well face challenges in hiring this year amid intense competition, low unemployment rates and labor shortage. And of course, in 2023, we saw a lot of big companies doing layoffs, especially the tech sector. If you remember, that includes major players like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Twitter, Meta, Spotify, and more. And the tech industry has seen more than 240,000 job losses this year. And finally, another big point of discussion this year was remote work. Remote work spiked during the pandemic, and it seems like it's not going away soon. Many big company CEOs commented on the topic this year. CEO of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, calls himself a remote work skeptic. Mark Zuckerberg says that engineers get more done in the office, and even Zoom's leadership wants employees back in person 2 days a week. But looking at 2023 state of remote work, it seems like people actually quite enjoy working from home. So I think it may be here to stay for a while.
Not for us, Don.
Yeah, I mean, we're all here.
Thank you so much.
This is home.
Right, this is home.
Thanks, Don. And now, for a shift in gears, we have some short headlines from the UK, Germany, and other European countries. Russia had a stern warning today for Japan regarding its Patriot air defense systems. It says those weapons ending up in Ukraine will have grave consequences for Russia-Japan ties.
Japan said last week it would send the missiles to the U.S. after altering its arms export rules.
Russia also warned South Korea today for expanding the list of goods that cannot be exported to Russia without special permission, saying South Korea should not be surprised if Moscow retaliates.
The list includes heavy construction equipment, rechargeable batteries, aeronautical components, and some cars.
Recruiting problems in Ukraine. The country's army chief said on Tuesday that he was not satisfied with the work of military draft officers.
The offices are tasked with mobilizing troops to keep up the war effort against Russia.
The army chief spoke a day after Ukraine's parliament published the text of a new bill reforming the army draft program. It would lower the age of men who can be mobilized from 27 to 25.
The bill's publication sparked controversy on social media. The reforms are highly sensitive for a weary population in the midst of a war with no end in sight.
As for the local draft offices, as of now, frankly speaking, I am not currently satisfied with the work of the draft offices. If I were satisfied with their work, we would not discuss this bill right now.
Legendary German lawmaker Wolfgang Schäuble died at age 81. His death ends an over 50-year career.
Schäuble was a member of the Christian Democratic Union political party since 1965 and a member of parliament since 1972.
He helped negotiate German reunification after the fall of the Berlin Wall. He was wheelchair-bound since 1990 after he was shot 3 times at a campaign event.
He died peacefully at his home on Tuesday.
Over to France, the Eiffel Tower was shut down to visitors today. This is because of a strike over contract negotiations. It's unclear how long the strike will last.
Tourists can still access the glass-enclosed base beneath the tower, but entry to the nearly 1,000-foot landmark itself is closed until further notice.
The Eiffel Tower is typically open 365 days a year and normally sees about 20,000 visitors per day this time of year. Today marks the 100th anniversary of the death of the tower's founder, Gustav Eiffel. They came looking for a bargain, but left empty-handed. Some shoppers in England were disappointed with this year's Boxing Day sales.
Many staple shops kept their doors closed for the UK's traditional day after a Christmas holiday.
In London, shoppers still lined up outside the famous department store Selfridges.
UK consumers were expected to spend nearly $6 billion in the post-Christmas sales, with the average person spending nearly $320.
Always the first in town, trying to get the bargains, but yeah, today's just not really gone that well.
Half the stuff I bought isn't even on sale, so it just feels like a normal day of shopping. Next and John Lewis and M&S were all closed, and I remember when I would go when I was younger with my parents, they would always be open and they would be the first shops we would go to.
There's a new trend in holiday dining this year that mimics an experience in the European Alps. It's called après ski dining, and it's transporting Californian diners to a winter wonderland of authentic flavors and atmosphere.
Can't get away to the European Alps for a winter holiday this year? Don't worry. Some California hotels are creating an elegant 5-star après ski dining experience just for you. Après ski is a French term meaning after skiing. It refers to social activities skiers can enjoy after a day on the mountain.
We chose dishes that are representative of something that is warm and thought out. So the fondue is obviously a classic, and we thought a dish such as a braised beef cheek or even a schnitzel would be something warm and filling for somebody that comes off the slopes.
Los Angeles restaurants are pulling out all the stops to provide diners with a fun experience that's more convenient than the hassle and stress of a trip to Europe.
It gives you something that's fun and shareable. Ultimately, like you're going to put this on your social media, and you're kind of going to get the same amount of clout. And so, you know, it's still a fun time.
The world-famous 5-star luxury Four Seasons hotel in Beverly Hills is all in on the après ski theme this holiday. They're collaborating with Four Seasons Maghreb in France to offer an authentic après ski menu and atmosphere too.
We have decided to take you away on an escape in the French Alps. This was an opportunity to have a partnership with the Four Seasons Megève, so you can discover the French Alps through Le Chalet Alpin. We have a curated menu where you can enjoy a cheese fondue, you can have a mulled wine with this après ski concept. Après ski meaning after ski, and this is one more drink that will enable you to enjoy and relax at the end of your day.
Not everyone can make it to the European Alps for a winter getaway. These California restaurants offer diners the opportunity to transport their taste buds on a delicious tour of alpine après-ski cuisine without the stress or expense.
Check your freezers. There's an important consumer alert. Frozen fish fillets sold at Whole Foods Market are being recalled due to an undeclared soy allergen. The recall applies to the 365 Whole Foods Market beer-battered pollock and cod fillets.
The fillets were sold nationwide between September 8th and December 22nd. Tampa Bay Fisheries says the pollock fillets have a best by date of March 7th, 2025. The cod fillets have best by dates of either February 22nd or 2025 or March 19th of the same year.
The company says it has not received any reports of illness, but anyone who has an allergy or severe sensitivity to soy runs the risk of having a serious allergic reaction.
Coming up, dogs continue to amaze us in 2023. See how canines play a major part in people's lives, from companionship to rescue operations.
Couples are taking advantage of the special numerical sequence of this year's New Year's Eve to get married. See what the Las Vegas airport is coming up with more shortly here on NTD News Today.
Art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shen Yun.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest Christmas sale ever. You get our brand new 6-piece My Towels for only $29.98, or rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper as low as $99.99. Or how about MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $24.98? There's something for everyone. Duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, bolster pillows, and so much more. Well, I know MyPillow products make for the perfect Christmas gifts, so I'm going to extend my money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2024. So go to MyPillow.com now or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you get our 6-piece towels for only $29.98. or get your very own MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $24.98. It's our biggest Christmas sale ever. Get all your shopping done now while quantities last.
My dad's name was David. He always talked about getting life insurance, and now it's too late.
No one was expecting my husband Dave to suffer from a heart attack. We didn't have life insurance. We thought we had more time.
Don't be Dave, and don't wait until it's too late to get the life insurance coverage you need. And if you don't have enough insurance to cover funeral costs, credit card debt, and other expenses, your family is going to get stuck with the bill. Call now to get affordable life insurance.
Just call
800-494-1562.
If you're over 50, you can't be turned down for this insurance, regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam, no health questions. Your rate will never go up. Your coverage will never go down. And rates start as low as $5 a week. Remember, don't be Dave. Call now.
Call now.
800-494-1562.
You need some help?
Your tow chains are a little loose. Could spark a wildfire. I could show you how to secure them properly if you'd like.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Anytime. You should check out SmokeyBear.com. They've got a bunch of tips on wildfire prevention.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Thanks for staying with us. Dogs play a major part in our lives, from providing companionship to assisting humans in a variety of roles. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the highlights of man's best friend from 2023.
In Ukraine, scientists have been studying dogs around the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. They're trying to find out if the strays can teach humans how to live in the harshest environments. After a reactor exploded in April 1986, many dogs somehow managed to find food, breed, and survive. Now, scientists want to study the genes of their offspring.
We've had this golden opportunity to look at the structure of the population and really lay the groundwork for the question we all want to address, which is, how do you survive in a hostile environment like this for 15 generations?
In the French Alps, avalanche rescue dogs save lives. Stash and Nell have been training at this French ski resort all year. The bond between dog and handler is vital during these life or death situations.
It's mostly about having a connection with the dog. It's a lot to spend a lot of time with him when he's little, all the time, almost all the time with him. And then later, based on play, it's his sausage that's there. There you go. That's what we train him with a lot. It's his toy. It's his grail.
This is Rambo, a former military dog. The German Shepherd was seriously injured after a rocket attack in Ukraine.
This is where he was hit by the shrapnel. This is where you can see the sign of the surgery. You can see how much is missing up here. The whole ear and his teeth. One or two above, and also a couple of below.
Rambo spent 8 months at a shelter in Hungary. He was finally adopted by the Budapest police. Rambo also helps kids who are bullied for their looks.
Unfortunately, it happens that children mock each other because they wear glasses, because they have braces, because their ears look funny, or whatever, because they're different. With Rambo, we might be able to sensitize these children a little and show them that yes, he is injured, he's different, but he can do the same things as other dogs.
Another big year for man's best friend. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Scientists have sequenced genetic code from an extinct animal, RNA from a Tasmanian tiger.
What's even more impressive, the sample has been stored at room temperature in the Swedish Museum of Natural History since 1891.
NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the species that became extinct nearly 100 years ago.
RNA molecules are considerably smaller than DNA. Researchers previously thought that they degraded quickly at room temperature.
RNA is a molecule that transmits information from the genome to the rest of the cell. And this is the first time that anyone has ever recovered RNA from an extinct species.
Dalen says the research isn't primarily focused on bringing the species back to life, but it could have a broad array of applications.
So one application I think can be quite interesting going forward into the future is to study RNA viruses. So there's a certain type of viruses that don't have DNA, they only have RNA, that's their genome.
The team's work could allow RNA viruses from skins stored in museums to be collected and sequenced, giving scientists the ability to study how these particular viruses evolve.
The aim of this research project was not to resurrect the thylacine per se, it was rather to try to understand more about thylacines biology, so which genes were expressed in the skin, for example, and we do find RNA from one particular gene.
Tasmanian tigers were carnivorous marsupials that were hunted to extinction. The last one died at a zoo in Hobart in 1936. Now researchers are considering taking samples from different species for future projects. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And in health news, it's often said that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but it bears repeating.
On this episode of Strong Mind and Body, we look at some essential breakfast foods for sustaining energy throughout the day. Here's Gina Marie.
Breakfast should be nutritious and balanced so you can get the best start to your day. Let's look at 3 types of essential breakfast foods, starting with number 1, protein. Common protein sources for breakfast include fried or boiled eggs, milk, soy milk, lean pork, or chicken. Protein provides the brain with necessary amino acids. This stimulates mental function, improves learning ability and concentration, and prevents a decrease in the metabolic rate. Number 2 on the list is fiber. Opt for breakfast foods rich in fiber such as blanched greens, cucumbers, potatoes, carrots, and spinach. These foods create a sense of fullness, promote healthy bowel movements, and enhance physical strength. Number 3 on the list is carbohydrates. Recommended carbohydrate-rich foods include oatmeal, sweet potatoes, whole grain buns, and whole wheat bread. These foods provide the body with sustained energy, stabilize blood sugar levels, aid digestion, boost physical stamina, and reduce fatigue. Let's wrap up by looking at some breakfast food taboos. You'll want to avoid greasy or deep-fried foods that can lead to obesity and cardiovascular diseases. High sugar pastries are a no-go. They can result in excessive stomach acid. This can lead to nausea and stomach pain, making you uncomfortable throughout the day. Also, you'll want to reconsider cold drinks before breakfast. Examples include iced coffee or tea, fruit juice, and fresh milk from the fridge. While you may not immediately feel discomfort, these beverages can gradually cause your stomach to become cold and weak. If you experience fatigue, abdominal pain, bloating, or weight gain without any specific illness, it can be attributed to consuming cold drinks in the morning. This is according to clinical cases.
Las Vegas is gearing up for a potential record-breaking New Year's Eve as couples rush to tie the knot on the unique date of December 12, 2023. The repeating pattern of 1-2-3, 1-2-3 has made this date highly sought after in the Las Vegas wedding industry. With the added excitement of the holiday, many couples are flocking to the city to celebrate and say their vows.
The current single-day record stands at some 4,500 marriages on July 7th, 2007, but this year's New Year's Eve could surpass that number.
A pop-up marriage license bureau has been set up at Las Vegas's airport to make the process easier for couples. The pop-up bureau will be open from December 26th to New Year's Eve, allowing couples to pick up their marriage documents immediately after they land. And check out this image from the Hubble Space Telescope. It's captured mysterious ghostly shadows on Saturn's rings, the latest sighting of the so-called spokes that continue to baffle scientists. NASA says this is a composite photo taken by Hubble in October as Saturn was about 850 miles away. Million miles away, that is.
Astronomers have long known about the perplexing spokes on Saturn's rings, but over time, observations revealed that the spokes' number and appearance can vary depending on Saturn's seasonal cycle.
Similar to Earth, the planet has an axis with a tilt that causes seasonal changes, though NASA says each season on Saturn lasts about 7 years. Well, that's all for today's news.
Thank you for tuning in.
Please feel free to reach out to us with news tips or feedback at news.today@ntd.com.
And we'll be back with more stories tomorrow.